Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast. Today we finally have our Baldur's Gate 3 impressions. We'll be reviewing Resident Evil 4's DLC Separate Ways and discussing the full remake coming to the Apple iPhone, courtesy of Steve Jobs, and what we'd like to see from the recently announced The Division 3. I'm your host, Patrick. Joining me is, as always, my sweet, call him sweet, sweets in the chat, Dumpster Boy. How you doing, Kamen?
Man, I'm the Dumpster Boy. Patrick, can I tell you a story?
Please.
We do this every episode now. Let me tell you a story, Patrick.
Please.
Something I learned earlier today. Did you know that if you go to Scotland and the Scottish Highlands, they now have someone has fully recreated shot for shot Shrek Swamp Home, and you can rent it on Airbnb?
Let's fucking go. It's about time, honestly. Here's my question. How much does it cost?
That's a great question.
And when are we going?
So I don't know either of those. And in my current condition, I don't know if I'm allowed to fly in a plane. But I have a proposition and a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think it feels like to have sex inside of Shrek's house?
I bet it feels like nothing you've ever experienced. Here, let's do a quick little screen share. I pulled up this article from one IGN. You ever heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Look at these inside photos. I mean, it feels like we're just going through a portal to our favorite swamp.
Here's the thing. Did they Photoshop donkey in?
They sure did.
Okay. So it doesn't come with like a life-size donkey sitting in the chair. How much money do you think someone spent to do this? And was it a joke or like what is the?
It seems pretty in depth, and I'm not seeing any actual prices on this IGN article, but I feel like that had to be a cool $250K at least.
Oh, that has to be
at least, and I'm probably underselling it by a lot. Shit's expensive out here.
I just like, can you imagine like the weirdo couple that's like, where are we gonna go for our honeymoon? And they're like, we're gonna go stay in Shrek's swamp.
Yeah. I can't imagine that.
Hear me out. I know this isn't a Disney property, this is DreamWorks, but like Disney people are they would do something like that. Yeah. I've never heard of DreamWorks people though. Like, is there people out there like Disney people who are just like DreamWorks people, and they're like the off-brand of Disney people? I feel like those people are more unhinged than Disney people because they can't go to Disney World.
I mean, they just have to the Dreamers.
Oh my God! Did you uncover something, Patrick?
I maybe did. They'll tell us how to train our goddamn dragon.
Oh man, those Dreamers.
You better watch out.
It reminds me of the Eva Longoria film. Eva Green. Green film. The Dreamers.
With Michael Pitt? Is he in there?
Yeah, with Michael Pitt, and they go to the Cinematheque all the time. Yep. Also, a lot of nudity.
I was about to say, we see both of them naked in that film, don't we?
We see all of them naked in that movie quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's inappropriate. So for all of our baby boy listeners and baby girl, no, that's weird. All of our if you're listening to us at all, you really shouldn't be under probably the age of 18.
Oh boy, I mean, you don't tell me what to do.
Well, we're in our 30s, man.
God damn it, we are, aren't we? Cognitive Clips in the chat. Sneaking in a quick comment from a work conference. Have a great show. Hey, thanks. Have a great work conference, bud. Kamen, we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Kamen, this is our last episode of September, which means next week we are starting our journey to reveal the top 100 video games of all time. So you have until Saturday as of release of this episode to send your list in. If you haven't already, go to the description of the podcast and the YouTube video. Click the form link. Help us hashtag build the list so we can reveal the top 100 games of all time. But Kamen, I gotta admit something on air right now. I forgot the second week of October I'm out of town. So either we're gonna take a quick week off in the middle of the top 100, or we might try to sneak in a not live episode that we just post on the day of when we're supposed to. So we'll figure that out in the background, but we might be
funny as hell.
We might be making our 5-week event a 6-week event with 1
Where
week off.
Where are you going? Do you mind spilling the beans on that?
I don't mind spilling the beans. If any of our listeners live in Los Angeles and want to see me and a certain band playing in Los Angeles, Rose and I are going to see at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, Kamen. Wow, you're fancy now.
At the Hollywood Bowl, I said, Rose, I would love to see a show at the Hollywood Bowl, and she said, "You know who's playing at the Hollywood Bowl?" I've been like drawing this out as long as possible because my brain is just completely lost.
You forgot who you're seeing. You're going to LA to see a band and you've already
I know who they are, but the name is just in a piece of my brain I can't access right now. They sang The District Sleeps Alone Tonight. Who are they called?
I have no clue, but I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say Japanese Breakfast.
No, but man, wouldn't that be something?
That would be pretty fucking.
Wouldn't that be? Liz, if you're still in the chat, help me out here. Maybe you know. What are they fucking called? Let me open up my Ticketmaster right now.
You open up that Ticketmaster.
I think Death Cab for Cutie is also playing, perhaps.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think it's a
Gibbard.
I think it's a twofer. I think it's the Postal Service. That's what they're called.
That sounds like it's good. Well, if Death Cab's playing with them, that sounds like a combo that you would want to see together.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be a fun show.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a split trip. We're going to LA to see that, and we're going to LA to see all the different Vanderpump Rules restaurants. Kamen. We're having a night at Sir. We're having a night at Tom Tom. We're doing it all.
You are. You say that. I forgot who I was talking to the other day, and I was like, I have this like dream of mine is to go to all 50 states in the country.
Yeah.
But that's boring just to go to 50. Just be like, oh, I went to see all 50 states. Loser. Okay. If you're going to do it, you've got to have a mission statement, Patrick. Yeah. My mission statement is to go to every single state and have a beer from a local brewery.
Yep.
And try their regional hot dog.
Ooh. Does every state have their own officially licensed regional hot dog?
You know what? I don't know, but I've had hot dogs in Georgia that were different than hot dogs in New Orleans. So
you gotta go to Ohio. They're known for their hot dogs.
I swear to God, here's the thing, Patrick. I know we'll get to video games in a second, Patrick, but for all of our Ohio listeners, you're all committing grievous amounts of sins by eating Skyline chili.
Yeah.
That is a concoction made from a madman and not in a good way. Who puts chocolate and cinnamon in their chili?
It's not good.
You're a lunatic. It's grease that runs from your snout to your anus and just,
it's not good.
It's like a slip and slide down there.
Look, as someone who was born in Ohio, it's pretty embarrassing.
It's bad.
Pretty embarrassing. Kamen, what do you say we start the show to talk about what we've been playing? Kamen, we've already said we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3, but before we do that, I have 2 games to report on. Kamen, if you would allow it.
I will.
Thank you. So I finished The Expanse. Telltale's The Expanse.
Yes, please.
All 5 episodes. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I've already kind of dabbled in sharing my thoughts on that game, other than to say they stuck the landing. Ultimately, nice. if you like Telltale games, if you like The Expanse, if you like a narrative driven, choose your dialogue adventure, try The Expanse. It's not a full $60. I think it was only $39.99 if I remember correctly. Each episode's like an hour and a half. It's a quick little jaunt through space. And I had a good time. Is it going to be in my top 10? No. But it was good. ultimately, now I'm even more excited for The Wolf Among Us 2 coming from Telltale next year, because that's, I think, my favorite of the Telltale series. And I had some criticisms about the new engine, just that like it wasn't as big of a jump as I hoped. But by the end of episode 5, I was like, you know what? It is very noticeable, this new engine, in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to see them play around in it a little more, and kind of be able to take it to even more heights with something like The Wolf Among Us. Nick in the chat, Sweetski 101. Wait, you were born in Ohio? Go Blue. No, that was what was so weird about me being a Michigan fan in my youth, is that I was born in Ohio and I hated Ohio State.
Born in Georgia, hate the University of Georgia.
See, that's one other reason why we're just meant to be together.
Mm-hmm. We hate our regional colleges.
They want us to zig, and we fucking zag, baby.
It's funny though, because I'm technically born closer to Georgia Tech than the University of Georgia.
Okay.
But let's be honest, the only people who actually like Georgia Tech are the people who went there.
Sure. Fucking nerds.
And those nerds can just get lost. I don't know.
Fucking nerds.
Fucking nerds, man.
I once worked a hockey tournament for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets hockey team. That's all there is to say about that. Cole House Jr. in the chat. Hey, Terry. How you doing? Kamen, I've also been playing and finished Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC.
Yeah.
$9.99 out now. If you have the game. If you don't have the game, it'd be full price of the game plus $10. And if you haven't played the original Resident Evil 4, it was an expansion that was released way back, where you play as the character Ada Wong from the game. And it's something I love about Resident Evil that I wish other franchises did. This storytelling mechanism of, here's a story and then here's another way to experience that story from a different perspective. And it intertwines every now and then, and you'll get to a point, it's like, oh, I remember doing that as a Leon in the base game. And I just love that shit. Resident Evil 2 did it even more, where from the launch, it was, here's Leon's story, here's Claire's story, and they're going to intertwine a fuck ton throughout. And I just love that shit. I'm a sucker for that shit. If you remember Spotlight TV, may it rest in peace, we talked about that about the Last of Us show. I love when we get a different perspective of a story, and it kind of shows us the perspective we've already seen. Separate Ways fucking rips, dude. It, just like Resident Evil 4 remake, it is an incredible elevation and remake of the source material with enough new shit in it to make it feel fresh, and it fucking feels like Resident Evil 4 remake. Honestly, there's not a ton to say here, other than it's 6 to 7 hours, maybe more if you take your time. And it's fucking Resident Evil 4. It's great. But as someone who did play Separate Ways, and I know you have too, it was really cool. I don't remember a ton of it. I just remember the basics, that you're Ada. It feels different because Ada feels different. And that's kind of all I remember. And there's the intertwining shits that I remember as a concept, but I don't remember specific beats. But I was it starts out in a way, I'm this definitely wasn't a thing. This is totally new. There's a whole new spin that they add to it, which was really cool. And there are other boss fights and other encounters that I feel are completely different than the original. I wanted to, before we recorded, check out a comparison video to see how much it really was like the original, because I feel it is more not like the original Separate Ways than is, which is cool.
I know that she has a grappling hook that you actually get to use in this version. I saw some video clips of that looked really cool.
What a cool elevation of the combat to have this grappling hook that, with the zombies that have shields, being able to pull their shields with the grappling hook. Or if you're far away from one of the zombies in combat, you can grapple to them and kick them down, after you've kind of made them stumble a little bit. Just really great. For only $10, there's no reason not to play it if you have Resident Evil 4 and liked it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Patrick?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get to it eventually, but with so many things going on right now, especially trying to get through Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about something else too. And we have fucking Spider-Man in less than a month. So it's okay, where am I at right now? What am I doing? And my question to you, Patrick, about Separate Ways, the way do you have any other educated opinions on what comes next? Do you think, based on anything they added in two separate ways, that we are like that they might have hinted at a little bit of like the next remake? Because I feel like we know we're going to get a Resident Evil 9.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
the
definitely.
remake is kind of a big hands in the air. Do you think that did they give us any new clues or anything you want to share?
Without spoiling anything, I can't help but wonder if we're skipping Resident Evil 5 and going right to 6.
Really?
But we're absolutely getting another remake. Like, they definitely set up Resident Evil 5 essentially. But I wonder, because Resident Evil 5 just isn't the most loved. I mean, Resident Evil 6, one of the universally most hated of them.
Yeah.
But I think there is potential to really improve that game a fuck ton with a remake. But yeah, no, I would assume that we get Resident Evil 5 next, and then we get 6, and then from that point, I don't know what we get.
And we've been very clear, like, that both of us have a real fondness for Resident Evil 5. I mean, when we were in high school, we played that together a shit ton. Yeah, so like I would love to see them, because Resident Evil 5 obviously very, very, very action forward.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Resident Evil 4, while there was some pretty scary moments in the game, it really wasn't like Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Or wasn't like, it was more action, less horror. But I think the way they did Resident Evil 4 being way more horror, and it worked really well. I think that, like, I would love to see them give a shot. My thing, just kind of walking away from that, being like, are we gonna get, like, is Resident Evil 5 gonna be the Shiva Chris Redfield? Are we still gonna get like co-op? That'd be fucking dope. But like,
I would expect to, because I think something that Separate Ways does that I think the original did, there's a ton of Albert Wesker in Separate Ways.
Yeah.
And so it really feels like they are setting up 5 with this DLC. Or I also wonder, if they're doing Resident Evil 5 remake, how much of the source material do they change? Like,
true.
Is it even still set in Africa? I would assume it is. Like, I think that would be a pretty big departure to completely change, like, the setting of the game. But I wonder if how much they go into the remake, because comparing 2 to 4, there's a lot more remakes. I mean, there's a lot more new in 4 than there was in 2. And so maybe that each iteration, it's like even more of a departure from the source material, so that they can, in their own way, kind of put their stamp on the legacy of Resident Evil, maybe, because so far they're fucking nailing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
With the 2 games.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. Man, because I really want Resident Evil 5, but also I feel like you could change so much in Resident Evil 6 and no one would know. You could just make a brand new Resident Evil 6. There's one moment in Resident Evil 6, though, early on in Leon's campaign, because you have 3 campaigns going at once. There's an early moment. It was genuinely scary. It's like one of the first things, if you pick Leon right off the bat in his, like, story arc, it was like pretty scary. You're like this college campus that's like this old Victorian college campus, and it's spooky as hell. Then the whole game goes off rails, and it's like, no, this is an action game. And you're like, don't like this. But I think that's exciting. Patrick, can I tell you something that I didn't prime you for this.
Oh, come on.
I watched, so I'm not a big fighter fan. Like, I used to play all of the Mortal Kombats. Those are my jam, right? Hit a certain age where I think online play became like way more prevalent in fighting games, where it wasn't just like it's me and my friends on the weekend. I got my buddies over and we're playing fucking, PlayStation 2 Mortal Kombat or the Deception or whatever, right? So either way, Sid and I sat down. We actually watched YouTuber Hollow play through the entirety of the story campaign for Mortal Kombat 1. And we've talked about this before. We talked about the fact that, like,
was he playing it on Switch?
I wish. That would have been funny as hell. Don't buy the Switch port of this game, even though Ed Boon did say that he was ashamed of it.
Yeah, there's no way it's
we will be. It's like, we will be fixing. Don't worry. No, I don't believe that. So we watched the whole playthrough of the story campaign. And we talked before about how it felt like an uncanny valley watching, like, the first trailers and stuff. And I think seeing it actually go live, like, and watching through it, it doesn't feel nearly as much like it's uncanny valley. but like, holy hell, the graphics in this
Yeah.
game are wild.
I mean, it
Wild.
looks the most recent trailers, like once it's been released, it looks
And
fucking
what's
good.
crazy about that is that's just on Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
So if they're you could tell they're maxing out the ability for Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely buck wild, dude, that
Yeah.
this looks the way it does. And I'm like, geez, like I'm genuinely like, holy crap, this is actually really cool. Like I would play, like if this game was like cheap, I'd play it just to do the story mode.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think it's really cool. I think from what I saw, one complaint I would probably have, this is just probably me complaint, is like it seems like the roster this time around feels really slim. Of
Interesting.
like who you can have, and there's some weird stuff in there that I was like, why is this character not playable? But
Can we get Bo Right Show? Is he in there?
no, he's not. But
Fuck.
I think his wife is
Huh.
Madam Cho or Madam Bo. I think it was Madam Bo is her name. I don't know if
Huh.
it's his wife or whatever. But yeah. So either way, if you're a fighting fan, it looks really cool. I obviously can't speak to the actual gameplay. But the story mode looks really, really cool. And I kind of wish that they would like release, I've said this before, like Call of Duty too, like just
Yeah.
release the story campaign, because I'm not gonna play anything else. And I'm
I'll
gonna
give you
wait.
$30 right now to
Yeah.
just play through the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Mortal Kombat, same way, but like, look, looks great. The reviews have been really positive, so that's there. I do want to mention one more thing before we move on to something else. But
Yes. Yes.
today, if I'm not mistaken, it is today. What is the day? The 20. What day?
26th.
Okay, 26 today. Phantom Liberty for Cyberpunk and
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2.0 dropped. So I've been actually watching some of that and like kind of keeping up, because I personally enjoyed Cyberpunk. And apparently version 2.0 has completely rehauled this game from the ground up. From what I read, the DLC for Phantom Liberty, I think it's either 29, I think it's 29.99.
That sounds right.
I think it's $30. Apparently just the DLC alone is 15 to 20 hours just for that one campaign.
Yeah.
It also brings in a whole slew of side content and all that stuff. So apparently to beat all of the new content added through Phantom Liberty is about 50 hours.
Wow.
So in the first game is probably about 50 hours to beat the main campaign. So you're looking at 100 hours now content wise in Cyberpunk. 2.0 has upgraded everything from the visuals to the AI to the actual gameplay mechanics. You can
The one that's most exciting for me is the skill tree.
Yeah, the skill
I
tree.
fucking hated the skill tree in the original.
So, and apparently there's new dialogue choices. There are a shit ton more endings now.
Cool.
So what I've been reading, if you are anyone who's already played Cyberpunk like myself, there's two things you can do. You can either reload your old save, and then just start up at Phantom Liberty and forsake everything else. And you can just jump directly in, or you can start up the game from scratch again. And then it's about, I think they said it was about halfway or a quarter way into the game, Phantom Liberty story unlocks, and then you can play through that alongside everything else. I think this is really cool. I love a success story. This feels like a No Man's Sky situation where it went from being an absolute train wreck to being like a game people are considering now to be like masterpiece worthy praise, which is like you don't see like a rebound like that.
Yeah.
So that's one that for me, I'm like, I don't know, buddy. Can I squeeze in Baldur's Gate and Phantom Liberty before Spider-Man drops?
I will say, because probably a year ago at this point, I was on this podcast saying I find like once the 1.5 update came out, so maybe not a year ago, I was like, okay, I'm finally going to go in, and it just didn't click for me.
Sure.
What I'm seeing about Phantom Liberty makes me want to give it one more shot.
Yeah.
So I do think I'll probably wait until after the October of it all, but yeah. Also, friend of the show, Chunk, let the Mongu in the chat. There's hope. Kamen likes the game. I like. There it is. And then before let's wrap up this section with McLean with it 2014. Can we just talk about how baby girl Leon is? I mean, that hair. I tell you what,
he's such a handsome boy.
Such a handsome little boy. I want a little more Leon in my life, if you know what I'm saying.